What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is November 3rd of 2020. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, I not only want to spend some time to talk about the current price action of Bitcoin, showcasing how over two previous phases this year we have repeated history and where we're going, taking a look at that price action. And along with that as well, talk about the continuing divergence and breakaway from the correlation against the Dixie in this case, or the dollar index, as well as traditional equities. And outside of that as well, diving into a very important discussion right after our quick sponsor. Our sponsor for today's episode is Shrimpy. Shrimpy is the social trading platform for cryptocurrency. Traders can sign up for Shrimpy and start making money by becoming a leader that other investors can follow. Once you've selected to lead a group of investors, input the amount you would like to charge based on assets under management or performance. Each month, Shrimpy will automatically charge your followers so you can get paid. When an investor follows your portfolio, they will copy the same trades you make on the exchange or through the Shrimpy application. Sign up for Shrimpy today. Alrighty, everyone, so real quickly, diving across the board of the market here, we can see over the last 24 hours that not only is Bitcoin relatively neutral, but the vast majority of cryptocurrencies are in red territory, not only over the last 24 hours, but over the last 7 days as well. I want to go ahead, though, mention to you all real quick, as I like to do giveaways here on the channel. If you guys are interested, we're doing a giveaway at Digifox. If you go ahead and check out the Twitter page, Digifox_finance, or the link down below in the description, you can participate in a $100 ETH giveaway. One of you are going to be chosen to receive $100 of ETH. We're going to be doing the giveaway on Sunday, November 8th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. So good luck to you all. Hope you all participate in it as well. But let's just go ahead and talk about what's going on with Bitcoin here and dive into the material here for today's episode. So what I wanted to focus on here is how we've been seeing these kind of secondary waves in Bitcoin's price showcase very similar patterns here, where we can see, broadly speaking, where the vast majority of the moves come in price. We almost get these kind of periods of time where we've actually seen something very similar to what we're living through right now, which is around a, generally speaking, 30-day cycle or mini cycle within the overall uptrend that we've had here in 2020. Here, for example, back here in April of 2020, when we were recovering a decent amount from the overall sell-off that we had on March 12th, we actually saw that we had a nice 33% bump up here in a matter of 33 days. So about a percentage every day. Pretty good if you can get it. Along with that as well, we also had a 27-day rally here where the return was 36.5%. And then here, so far, taking a step back, we've got ourselves around 20% here over around 17 trading days since we started really building up the momentum for this additional wave. Now, just going back to what we have here, I'm roughly estimating here that we're going to see something around a 30% return. And what this will generally take us to is around $14,500 for our next relative peak. And it's right in the middle between the time frames here for 30 days, right? Again, between 27 and 33 days here. Again, this is just a rough estimate. This isn't a guarantee the price is going to go there. We could honestly break through the uptrend line here and start selling off like crazy tomorrow. Whatever could happen, guys. I just think that broadly speaking, it's good to look at history here, especially the relevant price action that's been happening here over the last year, where we've started to have this kind of breakout in price where we make the majority of the gains here, and then we slowly kind of teeter up for the next few weeks. It's exactly what happened back here in August. So we should be pulling inspiration from this. Now, outside of this as well, I want to talk about the continuing divergence rather than the correlation of Bitcoin to either the downward move in the Dixie or, for example, stocks selling off. So there's been kind of two correlations or comparisons people have made where when Bitcoin, for example, goes up, equities, broadly speaking, have been going up. If you look at the longer term trend here, I would say, yes, there is a bit of a correlation here. Both bottomed out in March and continued climbing up into August, where equities have recently topped out. However, and just to clarify as well, some people have seen that as Bitcoin goes up, the Dixie goes down, and if the Dixie or the dollar index were to go up, in this case, Bitcoin should be falling like a rock, right? But what's interesting is that since like August and September, these correlations or these kind of trends that people have spotted have not been holding true. For example, here on the Dixie, we've started to set slightly higher lows, and we're getting close to testing whether or not we're going to be setting in higher highs here in the next week or so. And Bitcoin has continued to charge forward. It should be that if the Dixie is holding up here and not selling off, Bitcoin should be, even if you just want to say that the Dixie is flat here, Bitcoin should be moving flat, right? Because they're supposedly having a divergent correlation in this case, right? And outside that as well, we've got the NASDAQ down here. Tech stocks, good indicator of how the market's been performing here. One of the best correlations against Bitcoin. Now starting to showcase lower highs and potentially coming up with the event that's happening today or over the next few weeks, just broadly speaking, due to uncertainty in the market and increased volatility, has actually been turning the tide here and going down, whereas Bitcoin is setting its highest level in over 2.5 years. So the thing that was constantly championed 24/7, that, oh, these things are absolutely correlated. Yes, they did show some short-term correlation, but this is a point that I had brought up back in March, and I will continue to stand by, guys. Correlations on such a short time frame, even a year, is really not valuable personally to me and many others who are making long-term bets in the market. And the reason why is because it's very easy to get caught up in a liquidity crisis, which is what we experienced in March, where all markets are drained of the value in their assets because people are demanding dollars, which is what every one of these assets are trading against, right? It's easy to see correlations in the decline and uptrend here off of something kind of short-term like that. But we know long-term that Bitcoin is very separate and it's very different than equity markets or how the dollar itself performs. There can be some, for example, macro factors where they overlap, but for example, the election, which is coming up today, and I do want to talk a bit about later on, that doesn't have much effect on Bitcoin. Neither candidates are pressing, one way or the other for regulating or deregulating Bitcoin. It's just not even a topic of discussion. Bitcoin's so small in comparison to equity markets. But equity markets will have a different impact. There are thousands of companies in which benefit in one administration or the other, right? Again, it's just important to understand that and really not get too caught up in our bubble, which can kind of cloud our judgment, I think, in crypto. And just another way to showcase the divergence here, the break off of Bitcoin from equities. This was the supposed correlation people focused on, this kind of zigzag between this line of resistance and support for the NASDAQ and Bitcoin. You see something very similar. If you take a look at the S&P 500, it's just a little more heightened for Bitcoin in the sense of performance. But now we've clearly broken out here. Right? Very solid breakaway here from that correlation that we'd had with the NASDAQ. Now, we've talked about a lot of different things in regards to price today, guys, but I want to take a moment to speak to you all, whether you're in the United States or not. I know there's a lot of elections going on across the globe, at different periods in time. Some people do it at very different times than what we're doing it now. But just to those of you, because I know there's a lot of people in the United States and also some people abroad who I'd like to talk to. We've obviously got our election day here, November 3rd. It's something that I think a lot of people have either been looking forward to. Some people haven't really cared for it or just want to get past it. I know that this time of the year it can be very heated. But above all, I'm not here to really tell you guys who I'm voting for or who to vote for. All I want to say is that more than anything, you should get out and participate. I'm a big believer. At the end of the day, it's a bit of a cynical view that most of the time, especially in U.S. politics, both parties are going to give you probably around the same outcome, but there will be some differences. And whether you care about, for example, certain issues, or you care about who you feel would be better served as commander-in-chief, or your congressional representative, or whoever's running in your general elections, there's different variations for Senate elections, things of that sort, for different states. All in all, if you feel you're well informed, you feel like you know who you want to pick, go out and take the time to vote if you're registered. Okay, we've had a lot of people already participating, which I think is just generally exciting to see that people are out there and voting. It's it's not the best options in the world. I think we can very clearly agree on that. But at the same time, it's better to do something like this, participate. I think more than anything, to have your voice heard to some capacity. And overall, we can hope more than anything that we can start to challenge, hopefully, the kind of gridlock establishment system that's been around for a long period of time in both parties in the United States. That's what I would like to see. As you all know, I'm generally kind of moderate and kind of independent, kind of libertarian if you want to put it that way, with most things, as I'm a big lover of freedom and cryptocurrencies. But at the same time, above all, no matter who you are or where you come from, you have to be U.S. citizen in this case. But go out there, participate, and I can't wait to see what happens, guys. It's going to be an exciting time. No matter what, it'll be a democratic decision, which is very, very excited, where we all get to participate in voting who's going to be in. And interestingly enough, I want to joke about something here as we talk about U.S. equity markets. Guys, sometimes it can be maybe appear, I think maybe you guys would spot once or twice when I mess up on things, as I'm human, but I always love to not only mention where I have my strengths, but also my weaknesses. Some days you realize that you're still always learning. I thought U.S. equity markets were closed yesterday. So what I found to my surprise this morning is that as I was going through and checking the markets, I saw, wait a minute, like, here in the NASDAQ, there's pre-market valuation. That's interesting. Well, lo and behold, Election Day is actually not a holiday for equity markets. Interesting fact. So not only do a lot of people still have to go to work on Election Day in some cases in the United States, but along with that, markets are open. Which, I'll be honest, I think, if I'm to be a bit opinionated on anything in this video, I will say that I think Election Day, as much as per se maybe you have to come to work at some capacity, all employers should give you some time to go out and vote. And I think that that's the broad case. I know that some of my friends, for example, who work at different major companies and stuff, get actually some paid leave to go out and vote, which is really interesting, which I think something along those lines is very interesting and something that we should encourage for people to go out and participate. But again, as well, I think above all, I just thought it was really interesting that I didn't know equity markets are going to be open today. So we'll not only be able to see equity markets react to the earlier part of the day, to the performance of the polls and the numbers coming in, and then also, again, as with the previous election, we can always watch the futures markets in this case. Now, the thing that I want to talk about here, a lot of people have asked, okay, Nick, you've generally spoken in this case, you don't believe Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to be affected by the elections. Okay, fair point. But do you have like some sense of like if one presidency wins out, are we going to have a better stock market rally or stock market decline? Guys, this is something that I see as a big misconception here. It's not so much about the presidential election. Will the market, maybe have a slightly different response if, Trump or Biden wins? Yeah, it could very well happen. And the major difference that you find there is a movement in different stocks. A Trump administration in this case versus a Biden administration, just like any other kind of election, is going to lead towards different sectors doing well. You might see, for example, under a Biden administration, renewables doing a little bit better in that case, right? And it's just simply because it's not so much, Biden's more feel good about green energy. No, it's just because there's probably going to be more subsidization, tax benefits, things of that sort for the solar sector, right? And that's irrespective of my political views. It's just understanding what's likely going to be supported under his administration. And the same goes for Trump. There's different types of sectors and companies that are going to benefit from either presidential administration. That's the only point that really matters outside of maybe a few policy decisions. What's really going to matter here is whether or not we get in a situation of gridlock, or in this case, something where there's a party sweep where basically either the Republicans or Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, right? And it's very unlikely we're going to get one of those blue or red waves that people talk about. Again, with people's biases, it can cloud their judgment. The odds are that we're going to have gridlock. Now, I highly recommend you guys read into my newsletter because I talk about this and why this is a serious problem possibly for equities, whereas the coin is flipped a bit in this case, why gridlock could actually be very bad for the U.S. So if you're interested, you can always check out the Dash report down below where we talk about this. And along with that as well, we talk about cryptocurrency markets, Bitcoin, the continued surge we've been seeing in momentum. We talk about our top 3 picks for cryptocurrencies and equities and a bunch more as we cover a total of 4 different markets. Anyways, everyone, that's it for today's video. Again, as I mentioned, go out and vote if you can. And outside of that as well, above all, make sure to realize that whatever happens, we're still living in a very sane world. We're living in a world that's better than it probably ever has been, even with all the catastrophes going on in the world. We're far beyond where we were a decade, 20, 30 years ago. And I'm very excited to see what the future holds for us, no matter the outcome. Anyways, everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. If you could always, please consider liking the video if you enjoyed it, and also consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon if you haven't already. That being said, everyone, have a fantastic day wherever you are. Get out and vote, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.